So I just wanted to share an experience regarding traditional Latin Mass with Catholics and how, for example, I went to a Society of St. Pius X chapel for the first time. Now, I understand what church unity is and what canonical state it is and the importance of unity in the church. And for many years, I would never have gone to a a Society of St. Pius X, an SSPX chapel, the society founded by Archbishop Lefebvre. I would never have gone there. I had never gone there in my whole life. And because they were excommunicated, the bishops, the four bishops were excommunicated. And because of other issues that I found with them, I found them a little extreme. From what I heard, I found them extreme in some of their views, and we can all think of Bishop Williamson and so forth. But I have to thank Pope Francis for opening the door to me to go and experience what it's actually like on the ground to go to a SSPX chapel. I don't go very often because I live over 2 hours away from one. I'd love to go there more often, but I'm usually at an Institute of Christ the King chapel. But what happened was I was in Athlone for my aunt's 50th wedding anniversary, 50th wedding anniversary celebration. This was back the year of mercy. I think it was 2008. It was 2018. And Pope Francis had issued a letter in that year saying he had given faculties to the priests of the Society of St. Pius X to hear confession. And I happened to be passing the Corpus Christi Church in Athlone, and I decided, okay, well, look, I'm perfectly legally entitled now to go to confession. So I went to confession with a Society of St. Pius X priest called Father Leo Boyle in Athlone, which, you know, our Holy Father had given us permission. He opened the doors. And I have to say, I found him an incredible priest, an incredibly holy priest. This is a man, he was a late vocation, he's a teacher, and he was just very, very interesting, very, very interesting. And I suppose what opened my eyes, about the society in Ireland, and I've said this to them, they have a beautiful community. They have a beautiful community of young people. You know, how the church engages with young people. You know, we talk about participation and getting people involved. You go to the Corpus Christi in Athlone, and Father Patrick Kimball, a young American priest, he will have 12 altar boys. How do you engage children to love and appreciate the Eucharist? Put them beside the Eucharist. They have a beautiful choir. They have probably one of the best Latin Mass choirs I've ever heard in Ireland. And that's simply it. At Christmas, you know, they have just such a beautiful, a beautiful celebration. And they have community. They are a community of faith. You know, it's really painful for me. It's painful for me to look at this, because my children will say to me, and I will take my children to Novus Ordo Masses, my children will say to me, there's nothing there for me, Daddy. There's nothing here for us. You know, we seem to be stuck in the 1970s in this retro whatever type liturgy thing that we're doing in the Novus Ordo, stuck in the 1970s, but we're not focused on the sacred. And 80% of Catholics, baptized Catholics, don't go to any Mass in Ireland. They don't go to any Mass. They will, over 80% of baptized Catholics this Sunday will not go to Mass or even look at Mass online. That's simply the fact. You know, it's painful for me. I understand what church unity is. I understand the need for us to be one church, we have a hierarchy. We need to operate under the hierarchical hierarchical and canonical structures in the Catholic Church. This is essential for us. As much as, you can fall off the boat of Peter on both sides here, and being, too liberal, too lax, or being too radical and too, how would you say, you can fall off on both sides, and we have to stay on the boat. We have to stay we have to stay with the church, and so forth. But what is happening now in the church makes no sense. No sense at all. If for whatever reason, 100 Greek Catholics arrived to the diocese tomorrow, the bishop would be, for whatever reason, maybe work, whatever, and they asked for a parish to celebrate Greek Catholic divine liturgy, they'd be opened with open arms. If an Orthodox priest needed a place in the Catholic Church to celebrate the Orthodox divine liturgy, which has happened around Ireland, they would be facilitated. Yet for some bizarre reason, which, mind boggles me, the traditional Latin Mass is a problem. At the end of the day, Archbishop Lefebvre, the agreement that the Vatican offered him, meant that the Society St. Pius X practically accepted everything in Vatican II. What the Vatican frustrated Archbishop Lefebvre with was the fact that they wouldn't allow him ordain a bishop. And he didn't know what would happen after I die. How would I continue? How would priests get ordained? How would the traditional Mass continue? Archbishop Lefebvre wasn't wholesale rejecting every single word and document and everything in Vatican II because he had actually signed an agreement. His problem was the fact that he didn't have an agreement with the Vatican on a bishop who would continue to ordain priests. So I don't know where this is going. I think it's a time, these are times when you need just to prick up the rosary and just live your life of grace and pray and support priests as much as possible. But, I have Pope Francis to thank for the fact that I went to a Society of St. Pius X chapel. I have Pope Francis to thank for the fact that I know people who go to the Society of St. Pius X, and they're the greatest Catholics, some of the best Catholics I have ever seen, I've ever experienced. Last year in Uri, we had on the 15th of August, we had a Mass on the 15th of August, a Mass outside on a rock Mass. And, hundreds of people there. I mean, and I said, I've never experienced this in Ireland before. I've never seen this. And yet this is the way we live the Catholic faith. Why are people who like the traditional Latin Mass so hated in the church? We are hated. Let's be clear, we are hated. Anybody who comes out and says that they prefer the traditional Latin Mass is cancelled and is seen as somebody who hates the Vatican II. The problem is, you have a document, Sacrosanctum Concilium. I urge everybody to take that document. There is nothing wrong with the document. Sacrosanctum Concilium. Take the document and take it as an audit sheet and compare it to your ordinary Novus Ordo Mass or your ordinary traditional Latin Mass. If you were to take Sacrosanctum Concilium and go through all of the points and say, what Mass most conforms to Vatican II and Sacrosanctum Concilium, it would be the traditional Latin Mass. Without a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. So, Catholics like me are kind of left asking ourselves, what is going on in the church? What is going on with the faith? It's not me here. I'm not denigrating Pope Francis, or I'm not annoyed. I'm just asking bishops, what are you doing? What are you doing? to the church. In Ireland last year, the only Catholic group in Ireland, during the summer who had a Eucharistic camp was the Society of St. Pius X for children. We seem to think that our children don't need any faith formation, that we don't need any programs for our children, that all of that needs to be replaced. Not a single child died of COVID last year. Not a single healthy child died of COVID. And we've cancelled everything concerning the faith for our children. Every single program last year was cancelled. And we wonder why our children don't believe. And we wonder why 80% of baptized Catholics in Ireland don't go to Mass. So we need to really think what's going on. We need to pray. We need to pray for the Holy Father. We need to pray the Rosary. We need to maintain communion with our bishops, be faithful, understand that our church is hierarchical. We just cannot discount that. It's a dangerous thing what Archbishop Lefebvre did by ordaining 4 bishops. But you look today, the simple fact that motu proprio would not exist without Archbishop Lefebvre, would not exist without him understanding the threat to the faith. We wouldn't have the Institute of Christ the King. We wouldn't have the Fraternity of St. Peter without Archbishop Lefebvre. And maybe there is merit in what he did, in the fact that he understood, I have no choice here. It's either I do this or the Latin Mass dies. If he had signed that agreement and there had not been a bishop to continue his legacy, there is no doubt that the Latin Mass would have died out. It would have been restricted and corralled off and closed off and, removed. And the fact that we have it today stands as a testament to this movement. The fact that I've experienced it is a direct result of what Pope Francis did. If Pope Francis didn't want me going to experience the Society of St. Pius X, I wouldn't have gone. I simply wouldn't have gone if that letter had not been issued by Pope Francis. And the fact that he did, when he's saying, okay, Pope Francis is saying you can go to confession with the Society of Pius X, then Catholics can go. It can still go today. Still valid today to go to the Society of St. Pius X for confession and open your eyes and see what is going on. What's going on in the church? How can you have this chapel full of young people, vibrant community, vibrant families? How can that exist? And we can't have that in most communities around Ireland. I go to Mass down here. I'm in Ballina, County Mayo. People understand. So I'm not trying to criticize what's going on in this diocese. It's probably one of the most liberal dioceses in Ireland. But the simple fact that in the parish that I'm in, a priest, a 40-year-old priest, hung himself. Another priest in this same parish sued his gay partner, his former gay partner, for a share in the home that they had bought together. That's where I live. Another priest who comes will not say the consecration in the approved translation that the Irish bishops have given. He will use his own translation. These are facts. This is what has happened where I live, in the parish I live. And if I go to Mass on a given Sunday, the average age is 60 years old at the Mass. That's the average age of Mass attendance. That is the reality of my faith. That is the reality of my faith community. I've asked numerous times if we can have adoration, because contact with the Eucharist transforms parishes. I've asked numerous times, and our adoration chapel is closed, and I'm okay with that. I agree with the bishop. A closed, confined space isn't the best place for adoration in these times. We have a cathedral which seats well over 500 people. You can have adoration there, and so that 20 people spaced out meters apart, 10 meters apart, can easily have adoration on a regular basis every evening. You can do that. But for some reason, these things don't gain traction. And let's not talk about Latin Mass here. So Morum Pontificum never arrived to this diocese, let's face it. And I know what the faith is. I love the faith. But if you cannot have adoration, if you're not having adoration on a regular basis, offering adoration, offering that contact, fostering adoration, promoting adoration, where are we going as a church? So, I'm leaving this record for future generations. I have nothing against Pope Francis. He is my Pope. I am in the Catholic Church. I cannot change what happens in this church. But I see the suffering. I've seen the suffering in this diocese, in this parish, in Ireland. I've seen the suffering of so many men who leave formation in Maynooth because, sadly, if you're a straight man in Maynooth, it's not the place for you. And that's not a quote from me. That's from the seminarians that are leaving. And we wonder why, our church is in such a sad situation at the moment. Why men won't give their life to this mission in Ireland. Where are we going? That's the simple, sad reality of the Catholic Church in Ireland today. We have, it's a sad time for us, but I just wanted to, make this video and people understand the Society of St. Pius X, traditional Latin Mass communities, they're not the enemy of the church. And we're not running out there preaching against Vatican II as if it was the, whatever. I mean, Vatican II is Vatican II. It's part of the magisterium of the church. And it is what it is. But I would only ask, as far as the Mass is concerned, which is where the center of our Catholic faith, the Mass, I would only ask that Catholics take Sacrosanctum Concilium, the document of Vatican II, read through it, and ask yourself, what most conforms to that Vatican II document? What were the fathers of the church thinking about when they approved that document, overwhelmingly approved that document? So we cannot reject Vatican II. We cannot reject Sacrosanctum Concilium by any shape or form. But you take that document and you go to a Novus Ordo Mass in Ireland today, you go to a traditional Latin Mass in Ireland today, and you ask which of these two Masses most conforms to Vatican II, it is the traditional Latin Mass. I've never heard Gregorian chant in most Novus Ordo Masses in Ireland. Never. Doesn't exist. Yeah, sure. That document of Vatican II talks about retaining Latin and Gregorian chant. I've never heard in that document, we need to destroy altar rails. We need to destroy communion on the hand. We need to destroy kneeling for communion. All of the practices that we have in the Novus Ordo in Ireland today, all of the practices that destroy the faith in the Eucharist, that destroy reverence, all of what we actually do in the Mass is not discussed in that document. So that's really where we are today. So I would ask people to pray, because that's really what we can do. If I'm not a priest, not a bishop, can't do anything. I'm just speaking from experience, and maybe others will share their experience. But at the end of the day, I have Pope Francis to thank for the fact that I went in 2008 to a Society of St. Pius X chapel in Athlone. I wouldn't have gone to confession otherwise. If a priest has not the canonical faculties to absolve somebody, then you're not absolved. That's simply it. And the fact that they have canonical faculties, um, meant that I went. So, and it was a beautiful experience. It was a really beautiful experience. It's an eye-opening experience, and I understand, a lot better now the problems we have in the church. Ironic that Pope Francis did this, but he did. And there are many people like me that are asking ourselves, what happened? What happened to our faith? What happened to the Mass? Anyway, God bless, and praying for you all. And these times, at the end of the day, we just need to be saints. And being saint, be authentic, live in grace, pray, go to Mass, go to any Mass, just go to the Eucharist. Just go to the Eucharist. But obviously, I know I strongly encourage anyone who loves the traditional Latin Mass, you have to pray for it, you have to fund it, because if you don't, these communities will suffer, and we need to retain these communities for our children, so that they can experience the beauty of discovering the traditional Latin Mass, which I find beautiful. I find it beautiful. I just find it very beautiful, and it's not about me being superior, because I'm just a sinner like anyone else, but I just find it beautiful. There's nothing wrong with it. So, if it nourishes us spiritually, let's continue to go to it. Anyway, God bless. Let's pray for the Pope. Please pray for the Pope. Pray for our bishops. Pray for the church. We need to be one. But I just wanted to share this opinion. Take care. Bye-bye.